Welcome into the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com. Tom Leach along with Jim Goodman, Keeneland's Director of Mutuals and Simulcasting, as we take a look at the card up at Parx for Saturday, September 24th, headlined by the Cotillion and the Pennsylvania Derby. And first, congrats to Mr. Goodman. I think he had some good things to say about Fioretti, who keyed some big multi-race payoffs with a nice $33 win last Saturday. Well done.
Yeah, I included her. I don't know that she was my top pick, but she was certainly usable with Sophie Doyle. Sophie's come back from that collarbone injury, and that's her first big race back. And Fioretti liked the track and liked the off-going a little bit, too. So it was a nice little hit. I made a little bit of money on there.
Well, let's try to do that again up at Parx, and we will give you the late pick 4, which starts with the 8th race. It's all stakes. Pennsylvania Derby Championship is the first leg for 3-year-olds and up, going a mile and a 16th. I didn't see any standout in here. Who did you land on?
Yeah, I thought it was a nice race. I narrowed it down to 3 horses, and I don't really have a strong choice in these 3 horses, but I landed on Encryption, the 2 horse. And I really did because of the pattern that he's run for Kelly Breen. Kelly Breen puts them where they can win. He's 8 for 21 at Parx. So he hadn't had that many starters this meet, but he's 38%. And this horse runs best off of layouts. If you go back in his past performances, he's run a 102 and a 103 buyer, both off at least 2-month layouts, and they've let him off after he disappointed in the Monmouth Cup. Ran behind Bradister and Scuba. He was in over his head there, and this spot seems to be a little more reasonable. He's also 2 for 2 at Parx. I think the layoff pattern really points to him as the better choice here. But I like a couple others. I like Res Judicata, the 4 horse, 4 for 11 at Parx, beat Mr. Jordan decisively in a head-to-head at Monmouth. And I was between those 2. That made my decision easier to pick the 4 over the 5, even though the 5 has Paco Lopez and Ed Plaza. Looks like he's live as well. But I took Res Judicata over him. Also, Tale of Life, the 7, has showed a new dimension last time out. Went to the lead at Saratoga and led all the way at a mile and 8th race at 2-1. Giroux gets them out. I think he's live as well. So I would stick with those 3, starting off the pick 4 with a very slight edge to Encryption, the 2, but I would use the 2, 4, 7.
I ended up going to the 7, Tale of Life, and it's a bit of a class jump to jump into stakes, but Source looks like that he's in peak form right now. And I like the outside draw at Parx and good speed here. So Tale of Life was the one I landed on. I use Res Judicata as well. I use Sirius Alexander, the 1, and I use Mr. Jordan, the 5. Probably should include Encryption as well, but I didn't have him on there, so you could add one more to the pick 4 ticket that I'll talk about a little later if your budget allows. But Tale of Life is going to be the win pick for me. 9th race is the Gallant Bob, Grade 3, sprinters going 6 furlongs. They're 3-year-olds. And this is a race that often produces a horse that gives you a good run for your money in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. So you'll want to pay attention to who wins this one. I think the horse that came out of this last year maybe finished 3rd at a nice price in the Breeders' Cup Sprint at Keeneland. I thought this was between the California speed. When given the chance, I'll usually lean to the California speed, and I think that's a tougher circuit for the sprinters. I took Navy Him, who is just working lights out coming in from California, the 4 horse. But Who's Out also intrigued me a little bit coming in from California. Went around 2 turns last time, didn't seem to like it, back to sprinting now, and Mike Smith's riding. The others I looked at, Mind Your Biscuits, the 2, 3-5 India, the 3 really looks like he's improved for Chad Brown. And the 6 Counterforce, I've always thought had some ability, hadn't really busted through to show it yet, but I'm going to leave him on here in multi-race in case he wins at a nice price. But number 4, Navy Him, going to be the win pick, and I think the way I'd probably play the race is to take 4-11 over 2, 3, 4, 6, 11 in an exacta, and I'm going to go just stand with 4-11 in the pick 4. How about you?
I like Navy Him as well. I don't think he's a single, but I think that he's probably the best shot you've got in here. Richard Baltus is one of the better lesser-known trainers on the West Coast, and Bejarano comes in to ride. He's got another mount later on, but he's riding this horse, and he's been on the last 3 times. 2 of them were just blowout wins. So I like Navy Him. I'm going to go deeper in here, though. Mind Your Biscuits come out of King's Bishop. 3-5 India intrigues me a little bit with Tad Brown, because this horse came out of a race at Churchill, and you look for key races, and 3-5 India won, beat Six Stately Dude, who came back and won, beat Twiz, who came back and won, and I think there was one other horse in that race came back and won. So he won that race by 4.5 back in June and came back and won at Saratoga. So I think he's really good, and I would take him as the best of the East Coast horses. But I'd also use No Holding Back Bear, the 5. I would throw the 11 in there just because Jerry Hollendorfer shipped off all the way across country. So I would go 5 deep in there. I would go 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, and pick 4 with a slight choice with maybe him, but also liking the 3-5 India a lot.
10th race, Grade 1 Cotillion, and Songbird will be a heavy favorite. Can you beat her?
I'm not going to single Songbird. I know you should, and I know that that's the right thing to do, and I really hope she wins. I hope she remains undefeated, but I think that it's worth doubling whatever ticket you put in there, whether it's $20 or $100. Put Catherine Sophia in there. John Service is a great trainer. She's 2 for 2 at Parx, which is a slight advantage. Songbird's never seen Parx. I know Songbird is probably going to blow her away, but I just have a feeling that she could possibly pull off the impossible. She broke her maiden here easily back in October of 15 when a 92 buyer and won by 12. At one time, back when she won the Devona Dale at Gulfstream, they were talking about her being the East Coast Songbird. And then she gets beat in the ass on her first time around 2 turns, but she comes back and wins the Kentucky Oaks by almost 3 lengths and beats Landover Sea, who Songbird has beaten a number of times. I think Catherine Sophia has a shot. You might think I'm crazy, but I think that if you get her, you multiply your win in the pick 3 or pick 4 by 10 times. Songbird, you can't say much about her. I mean, she's done everything anybody's asked her to do. It's a 2-horse race to me, and I think Catherine Sophia is worth throwing in there. Karina Mia has proven she can't beat Songbird. I don't think she's going to beat her. She had every chance to beat her in the coaching Club America Oaks at Saratoga, and she couldn't do it. Catherine Sophia hasn't tried it. I'm going to give her a shot. So I'm going to use 2-5 in the pick 4 here.
I would use them both as well, and I'm actually picking Catherine Sophia to win. A couple of reasons why. The Alabama is a race with a lot of history, so and then obviously you got the Breeders' Cup Distaff that Songbird is pointing for. So this is the race 2 that, at the beginning of the year you might circle for a 3-year-old filly. Those 2 and the Kentucky Oaks are the 3 days you want your filly to peak. So this is the in-between those 2 spots for Songbird. For Catherine Sophia, yeah, if she wins this, she'll, I'm sure, head to the Breeders' Cup Distaff too. But this is her chance to knock off Songbird. Better chance to do it here than I think there is out west. And she's 2 for 2 at Parx, and you said Songbird's never been on Parx, and that could be a quirky track. So I'm going to take Catherine Sophia to win it, and then I'm going to use them both, certainly, in the pick 4. 11th race, Grade 2 Pennsylvania Derby. 3-year-olds going a mile and an eighth. And this is a nice big field. You've got the winner of the Derby, the winner of the Preakness and the Haskell, and Nyquist and Exaggerator, respectively. Who do you land on here?
Well, I don't think it's going to rain on Saturday.
No, it doesn't look like it.
So I'm tossing Exaggerator. I'm not good. I might use him in the pick 4, but I don't think he's going to beat Nyquist heads up on a dry track. So I'm right up front. I'm going to toss him unless it rains. I got that circled on my piece of paper. Well, I like your trap game analogy there with the horse racing and the trap game. Just like the U of L Cardinals have a potential trap game coming up this Saturday at Marshall. I don't think they'll lose, but it is a trap game.
Won't look as sharp as they will because they've got Clemson the next week. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. This is a great race. I mean, Pennsylvania Parx come up with a lot of slot money. They made this day one of the better days of late summer racing, early fall racing. So it's a nice field. I keep thinking Gunrunner is going to win one of these days, and I'm going to pick him. I think he ran well enough in the Travers. Nobody was going to beat Arrogate that day. But, if you look at Arrogate and just say, okay, he's freaked and he's that good that day, and Gunrunner ran a 102. And ran a good enough time to usually win the Travers. As Musing after the race said, he ran 202, which would usually win it, but Arrogate ran 159 and won. So I think Gunrunner comes into the race really good. I think he didn't have a chance at Monmouth in the Haskell. He got a terrible trip. He didn't much care for the sloppy track. I'm gonna move him up off those two efforts, even though he didn't win. So I'm gonna take Gunrunner here in a little bit of a price, maybe 5 or 6 to 1. Nyquist obviously is probably the favorite now of the 9 horse. When Neil says he might try to come from off the pace, it doesn't change tactics. I don't really like that in a $1 million race, but it makes sense because he realizes that's what lost the Preakness for him. It worked in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He was outside there. He's outside here, and the outside draw at Parx, as you noted earlier, is favorable. Summer Revolution, the 3. I have a feeling Mike Smith will fit this horse really well. He didn't win the King's Bishop, but he got off to a bad start and just kind of ran evenly. Bounced a little bit off that 105 buyer at Saratoga, but he's got a lot of talent for Rodriguez. I think he's got a shot at stepping up, obviously in class, but I think he's got a shot at these horses. And I have a bomb in here that I'm just going to throw in there just in case something crazy happens. Sunny Ridge, the 10 for Jason Service and Joe Bravo. It was kind of a sneaky good effort at 31 to 1 in the Haskell. He only got beat by Exaggerator and American Freedom by 3.5 lengths, and if he moves up off that, I think he's right there with these horses. He's not been talked about at all, but he only lost to Exaggerator by a neck in the Delta Jackpot last year. So Sunny Ridge is going to be a big price, maybe 15, 20 to 1. I would give him a shot in the exotics underneath, but Gunrunner is going to be my choice, but Nyquist, Summer Revolution, and Sunny Ridge are all going to be on my pick 4 ticket.
I'm with you on Exaggerator. I'm tossing him, other than I'm going to include him on my pick 4 ticket. And I'm going to go at this race from the standpoint of we've seen the best of the Triple Crown horses, and I don't think it's anything special. If one of them wins it, I think I would lean toward Gunrunner, actually. But I'm going to look for a horse that still has more upside. And it came down to Summer Revolution and Connect for me. And I'm going to play win tickets on both of those in the race. But I ended up for a win pick going to Summer Revolution. I'm right with you on the Mike Smith. That's one of the angles I had written down. Horse has a couple of bullet works, and that 105 buyer back in early August indicates the talent of this horse, I think, and its speed can be dangerous at Parx, and I think Smith gets Summer Revolution out there, gets out away from the rail, and becomes really tough to beat. And if there is too much speed and that gets him, maybe Connect runs him down late. So I like both of those, but my pick 4 ticket, I'm going to go deep in here because I think I'm not totally convinced on anything. So I'll start it out with 7, 4, 1, 5. Then I'm going to use the 2 Californians, 4 and 11, and from the Gallant Bob, the 2 fillies we mentioned in the Cotillion, 2 and 5, and then I'm going to use 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 2 in that order in the last leg of the pick 4. How about you?
I'm going to go 3 deep in the first leg with the 3 horses I talked about: Encryption, the 2, Res Judicata, the 4, and Tale of Life, the 7. Then 4 horses in the second leg: Mind Your Biscuits, the 2, Navy, 3-5 India, the 3, Navy Hymn, the 4, and No Holding Back Bear, the 5. Possibly we'll throw the 11 in there as a 5th choice, who's out for Hollendorfer if you had enough money. 2-5 in the big filly race. Catherine Sophia and Songbird, and then as deep as you can go in the last race. I agree with you. It's wide open. I don't think there's a standout in there. So I went 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10. I think that total ticket comes out to be about $72. So that go as deep as you can in the last leg. Gunrunner is still my best choice, but I would also use Nyquist and a couple others at least. But it's a wide open race, and I think if you can beat Songbird and if you beat Nyquist, you can make some money on this big board.
You got the Dogwood at Churchill on Saturday. You've got the Grade 3 Noble Damsel up in New York at Belmont. So another great Saturday of racing around the country, and closing in on that Keeneland meet in just a couple of weeks. For Jim Goodman, I'm Tom Leach. That is the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com.